Welcome back to Life and Hair. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of makeup on while I'm talking about having started my liver reducing diet. This is day 3 and it's been really difficult. And also, excuse the kittens, they're still kittens and they're still crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and just start my makeup and chat to you about having started this liver reducing diet. So as time was ticking on, I had this diet looming, coming up. And I must admit, for the last few months and certainly over lockdown, I've kind of been eating exactly whatever on earth I've wanted. It's been a time where I've felt completely out of control, really, of my eating. And I've really been indulging in all of my favourite things, just going for it. Those people who have got some kind of eating addiction, binge eating, bulimia, people who are overweight. I don't know about people who've got anorexia or anything like that, but you'll know your feeling of giving yourself permission to really just have absolutely no limitations over your eating. So the dietitian rang probably last week and emailed some guidelines about what the soup. I'm doing 4 soups and 4 yogurts a day, and the soup has got to have a certain amount of protein in it and a certain amount of carbohydrates in it, and be generally lower fat, and the yogurt has got to have a certain amount of carbohydrates in it. And from what I've picked up from online forums and Facebook and things like that, it seems that there's an awful lot of variation between everybody's diet that they're required to do. Initially, she wanted me to do a milk-based, liquids-only diet for 2 weeks. I don't drink milk, and there's no way that I could have stomached that amount. So she said, look, why don't you try soya milk? And I said, there's no way that I can drink that amount of soya milk every day for 2 weeks. It's just out of the question. I'd feel really sick. It would really upset my stomach. So she said, okay, there is another option. You can have the soup and yogurt diet. So this is one of the things that I'm looking forward to, is a time when my makeup actually looks nicer on me. I remember when I was a little bit younger, I used to get up in the morning and think, okay, today I'm going to really have a nice full face of makeup. It's going to be really exciting, and I know I'm going to end up looking great. Or, for example, if I was going out in the evening, I'd do that. But to tell you the truth, it seems these days that no matter how much makeup I put on or what I do, it doesn't really make that much difference. So now going back to my liver reducing diet, it's been very hard. The first couple of days were easy. My uncle came around yesterday to visit me. He knew that I was on a liver reducing diet and I was due to have my operation on the 25th. What does he turn up with? He turns up with 2 chocolate cakes, not 1 but 2, and a bottle of Prosecco. And it wasn't just chocolate cake, it was chocolate fudge cake. And I'm sorry for anybody who doesn't want to talk food, but just to look at that chocolate fudge icing and to know that there's icing between the layers of cake was just too much. So I stayed on to the soup and yogurt, I did, but in the evening I was battling. I was battling because I knew those chocolate cakes were sitting in the kitchen. And I got a little teaspoon and I just opened one and took a few bites, mainly of the icing because I absolutely love it. And it was really hard. And then I had a little bit of lettuce just to have that feeling of chewing and swallowing something. Today I really must get on it again. I understand the importance of shrinking your liver, not having an enlarged fatty liver that's going to be in the way of the surgeon accessing your stomach. I know that. And I will do my very best. I really will do my very best. I do, ultimately, I don't think you've got to be on a liver reducing diet for a solid 14 days to shrink your liver down. But I will do my best. I'm not arguing with anybody. One of the things that I found the most difficult is having limitations on what I'm able to eat. I often eat for emotional reasons, and when I'm feeling uncomfortable, if I've got some difficult emotions that I'm processing or some worrying thoughts that are flitting through my head, I habitually just get up and go to the kitchen and fix myself something nice. I love a little bit of bread and cheese, a little bit of those lovely little round poppadoms in a packet of those, and maybe a little bit of wine in the evening. All of those little snacky comfort things. Some people go for chocolate, some people go for crisps. I've not really been a chocolate and crisps kind of person. We all have our own favourites, and I like a bit of cake. I like a bit of bread and cheese. Hot chocolate I like. And all I can drink at the moment is a cup of tea with no sugar, or water, or a cup of coffee. But even with my coffee, I like a little bit of hazelnut syrup in there, or caramel vanilla syrup. So it's those touches of luxury and indulgence. It's those treats that I give myself. I consider them to be like little rewards and strokes that I give myself throughout the day to tell myself that everything's all right, everything is okay and pleasant, and I can get through whatever it is. I mean, at what point in my life did I feel that I couldn't get through the day without having these extra little strokes and reassurances and comfort? It's a very strange thing that seems to have snuck up on me. I do remember it starting when I was around 14, as I said in my last video. I needed the comfort of I had an absent mother, and I'm an only child, no siblings or anything, and I didn't know my father, so there was very little softness and comfort in my life. The person who brought me up, it was my mother's sister, my aunt. Her personality and her nature was very stern. She was stern with everybody. It wasn't just with me. I believe that she was even stern with herself. And she had her own reasons for that, but that was the last thing I needed, really, as a child and growing up through my teenage years. In the 80s, when I was a teenager, there was a lot of crash dieting going on, a lot of Jane Fonda workouts. And I feel that I burnt out my willpower muscle. I find myself now, having turned 50, without really any willpower to speak of. I know this in myself. Every time I've been on a diet and regained the weight, I seem to have spent out of my willpower bank account. And this is how it feels to me. Everybody's different. This is how I've experienced it. And the balance of my willpower account has reduced and emptied, and I cannot face another diet. So being on this liver reducing diet is like this last bit of willpower that I can just about scrape together just for these 2 weeks. I'm hopeful that once I have the op, it'll affect my hunger and my desire for food. And then from the point, once I've lost a large amount of the weight that I need to lose, I will be able to start up my eating patterns and my eating habits. And it would be a wonderful thing if I was one of these people then who had the 3 meals a day, 2 healthy snacks, plenty of water, and not much else beside that. In my life growing up, I've come across plenty of people who are like that. I'd like to be like that, and I haven't had the pleasure or the privilege of having established those eating habits throughout my life. So it's a matter of starting again, retraining myself again. This is what I'm hoping for going into this weight loss surgery. Whether I actually get there or not, I just have no idea at the moment. I hope that I will. The hardest time for snacking and eating and giving myself those comfort strokes is evenings. I'm perfectly all right. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I don't really feel particularly hungry. I'm not a breakfast person. But as soon as I have my first bit of food at late morning, my desire for food and that habit of eating more and more as the day wears on starts. It all starts with having that first bit of food. So by the time I come to evening, psychologically, there seems to be this time in the evening when subconsciously there is a need in me at that time to have a little bit of reassurance and review, really, of how the day's been before we go into nighttime. A lot of people who have got good relationships with their mums, or they've got a special relationship with a best friend, or they've got siblings, a sister, a brother that they're very close to, they are able to pick up the phone and ring that person and just chat about a few bits of the day. And there seems to be something really special about doing that with a family member, especially a parent, I feel. Now, I don't know whether I'm saying these things through the lens of someone who hasn't really had that. And I know that there are plenty of people who don't have a close relationship with their mother or their siblings. I'm a married woman. I do speak to my husband a lot, but I don't have the same satisfaction or fulfillment speaking to him as I would do to a mother or a mother figure. So that time in the evening, I start to get that gnawing, restless hunger. It's an emotional hunger. It's an emotional need that needs to be satisfied. And I will make a meal. Normally, I love cooking. People tell me I'm a good cook, and I tend to cook things that I think are tasty. So, of course, I'm going to eat quite a lot of those things. But then after the meal is finished, that's when that need starts to stir up in me, and I start making trips to the kitchen for a few more little treats that, such as we've discussed already. I also have to admit that although I'm now on day 3 of this diet, I still have big doubts and worries and concerns about the actual surgery itself. Now, my weight has impacted my health, and my weight has impacted what I'm able to do and the amount of energy I've got and stamina and things like that. All of these things go through my head, long term or even medium term. How is this surgery going to affect me? Everybody is affected differently. I speak to some people who tell me that they haven't really had any significant side effects, that certainly nothing that they haven't been able to manage with a little bit of medication. And there are some people who make videos about the most horrendous experiences that they've had and real trouble with their recovery time. So If you are considering it, or if you, like me, are on the liver reducing diet stage, or you're waiting for your surgery, or just looking into it, and you've got some concerns, some niggling worries and concerns, don't feel that you're alone. I should imagine that the majority of people feel concerns that they're doing the right thing for them and that they'll be able to live with a much reduced stomach for such a long time. I think at the end of the day, I have to say to myself, okay, at this point, it's a straightforward choice. Which would you prefer? What you've got now or what you'll have then? Good and bad. And whatever it is, once you've made the choice, yes, I do want the operation. Whatever it is that you have to face, you have to embrace it really and not try and avoid or be frightened of whatever complications or side effects you have to live with. You know, you go into this decision with both feet, you jump into it with both feet, and you embrace everything that it brings.